Today we're going to break down an MLB trade tree. I was inspired by seeing Steve Dangle's hockey trade tree videos, so check those out if you're interested. His playlist is linked in the description. But the basic idea is we take a trade from years past, and we look at the value each team got out of the trade, how each player performed, and then how they've continued to grow the tree in the years since. And some of these can go on for years or decades even. The trade I've chosen for today took place in the offseason after the 2014 season, and is still evolving to this day. This is the Wil Myers trade tree. The Tampa Bay Rays in 2014 were, in a word, disappointing. Their run of 6 straight winning seasons came to an end, in part due to several injuries, and they traded away ace David Price at the deadline. Entering a rebuild, they were looking to move established MLB talent for prospects, and one of the most appealing to other teams was Wil Myers. Myers was coming off his sophomore season in the majors, and his 2014 was like his team's, disappointing. The 24-year-old outfielder was the AL's Rookie of the Year in 2013, but a wrist injury cost him half of 2014, and he struggled when he returned. His OPS Plus dropped from 131 as a rookie to 77. The San Diego Padres in 2014, on the other hand, were looking to compete. New general manager A.J. Preller spent his first offseason moving most of the team's top prospects to acquire Major League stars, bringing in Matt Kemp from the Dodgers and Justin Upton from the Braves. To round out his brand new outfield, he went to the Rays and he made a deal for Wil Myers. The trade involved 11 players and a third team, the Washington Nationals. So here's the trade. The Padres received Wil Myers, backup catcher Ryan Hanigan, and 2 pitching prospects, Jose Castillo and Gerardo Reyes. Tampa Bay received San Diego's catcher Rene Rivera, prospects Jake Bowers, Birch Smith, and Travis Ott, and the Nationals outfielder Steven Souza. And the Nationals received pitching prospect Joe Ross and a player to be named later. We'll get to who that player ended up being later in this video. So, how did the Padres do? Well, Hanigan never played for them. The same day this trade happened, they traded him to the Red Sox for third baseman Will Middlebrooks. Middlebrooks won the starting third base job out of camp. However, he struggled at the plate and in the field. He put up negative WAR on both sides for a total of minus .8 WAR in 83 games. He was sent to the minors in July and released after the season. Castillo debuted with the Padres as a reliever in 2018, and he was pretty effective. Across 37 appearances, Castillo pitched to a 3.29 ERA, 2.64 FIP, and .9 WHIP in 38 1/3 innings. However, injuries began to pile up, and from 2019 to 2023, he's only made a total of 3 appearances in the majors. Approaching the 2023 trade deadline, he was traded to the Miami Marlins for cash. In his time as a Padre, Castillo produced .4 WAR. Reyes debuted at the major leagues with the Padres in 2019, and he struggled. Across 27 appearances in 2019, Reyes produced minus .5 WAR in 26 innings, and at the trade deadline in 2020, the Padres traded him to the Angels for upcoming free agent catcher Jason Castro. Castro appeared in 9 games with the Padres, slashing 179, 233, 357 for an OPS Plus of 61 and minus .2 WAR, and then he left in free agency. But you may be saying, the Padres didn't make the trade for those players, they were just kind of throw-ins. They really just wanted Wil Myers, so let's look at how Wil Myers did. In 2015, he was the Padres' opening day starter in center field, and he batted leadoff. He missed over half the season with various injuries, but he showed some promise. He slashed 253, 336, 427 for a 112 OPS Plus and 1.2 WAR in just 60 games. He spent time in the outfield and at first base, but the Padres as a team completely fell apart. Manager Bud Black was fired in June. They missed the playoffs again. They even finished with 3 fewer wins than in 2014. So this big mega team to shoot for the playoffs that they had built, it didn't work. And the next few years for the Padres were pretty tough. In 2016, Myers became the starting first baseman, and he put up arguably his best season. 28 home runs, 94 RBI, 115 OPS Plus, and 3.5 WAR in 157 games. He even played in his first All-Star game, starting at designated hitter. Before the 2017 season, he signed a 6-year extension worth $83 million, and he played all 6 of those years with the Padres. Across those 6 years, Myers was generally productive, but not quite at the level many expected. He put up a respectable 112 OPS Plus, and fielded pretty effectively across all 3 outfield positions, first and third. He had some very good years. He even received MVP votes in the lockdown-shortened 2020 season, but he also had a couple really bad years. In 2019, he finished with negative WAR. Over Myers' final few seasons with the Padres, they began to approach being competitive and reaching the playoffs even again, and they acquired a new group of stars, including Manny Machado, Blake Snell, and Juan Soto, to play alongside Myers and top prospect Fernando Tatis Jr., a star in his own right. With Soto, Tatis, and Trent Grisham sent to man the outfield and Jake Cronenworth at first, Myers left as a free agent after the 2022 season. The Padres, who had hoped to compete for a championship, only made the playoffs twice with Myers. They only had a winning record twice with Myers. They just never seemed to put it together with him as a part of the team. Though I'd argue it's not really his fault. His contract, while big for a young player, was never really big enough that it prevented the Padres from going out and signing or trading for big-name players. But the team, for whatever reason, just couldn't put it together with him there. In his 8 years in San Diego, Myers appeared in 888 games and posted 12.3 WAR. And with him leaving, the Padres have no remaining players from this trade. Everybody has been released or hit free agency or traded for cash. There's nobody left in the organization that they acquired from this trade. And altogether, they got 11.2 WAR. Now let's look at the Rays. Did they get enough value for a guy who could have been, the face of their franchise for many, many years? Well, Rivera played 2015 with the Rays. He put up a dreadful minus 1.9 WAR across 110 games, and he was released after the season. Bowers reached the majors with Tampa in 2018, and he had a solid rookie season. He put up .5 WAR in 96 games, and then he was traded to the Cleveland Indians. The thing about the Rays, they kind of trade everybody eventually, and their philosophy is they'd rather trade someone a year too early than a year too late. But the Rays got back 2 players. They got pitcher Cole Sulser and infielder Yandy Diaz. Sulser made 7 relief appearances with Tampa in 2019. He put up a 1.1 whip and gave up no runs, producing .3 WAR. He was claimed off waivers by the Orioles after the season. Now, Yandy Diaz, he's been one of the best batters in baseball since joining the Rays. In 5 years in Tampa, he slashed .291, .384, .448 for a .134 OPS plus and 12.5 WAR. He received MVP votes in 2022 and again in 2023. And this year, he also played in his first All-Star game. He started at first base, and he won the AL batting title. He's also under contract through the 2026 season, so there's plenty of time for him to continue and build on this. Smith never played for the Rays at the MLB level. He was taken by the Mets in the 2017 Rule 5 draft. Ott also never played for the Rays at the MLB level. He was placed on the restricted list in 2019. He's never played baseball since. Souza had come up for a cup of coffee with the Nationals in 2014. He was essentially a replacement-level player, but he'd won the hearts of Nats fans in the final game of the regular season by securing the last out of their first-ever no-hitter, pitched by Jordan Zimmerman. Souza played 3 years with the Rays, and he played well. He slashed .238, .327, .426 for a .106 OPS plus and 6.1 WAR in 378 games. He then was traded. It's the Rays. They trade everybody. He was traded in a 3-team deal to the Arizona Diamondbacks. And for the purposes of this tree, we're just going to look at what the Rays got back. Infield prospect Nick Solak, southpaw Anthony Banda, and 2 players to be named later, Sam McWilliams and Colin Poche. Solak never played for the Rays at the MLB level. In 2019, he was flipped to the Texas Rangers for relief pitcher Pete Fairbanks. Fairbanks has been a great part of the Rays bullpen over the last 5 years, posting a 1.43 ERA plus and 3 WAR in 160 appearances. In 2023, he moved into the role of closer, and he put up 25 saves. Banda made 10 appearances with the Rays over 3 years. He was not very good. He put up a near 6 ERA, minus .4 WAR, and then he was traded to the Giants for cash. McWilliams has never reached the majors, and he was taken by the Royals in the 2018 Rule 5 draft. Poche debuted with the Rays in 2019. He missed 2020 and 2021, recovering from Tommy John. Then he returned to Tampa Bay's bullpen in 2022, and he's been another effective piece for them. In 182 appearances with the Rays, Poche has pitched to a 1.14 ERA plus and 1.6 WAR. So, adding all that up, the Rays side of the trade has resulted in 21.7 WAR for them, and they still have 3 important players on their roster contributing to their current success. They've also been consistently one of the top teams in baseball recently, with 5 straight playoff appearances from 2019 to 2023, and a World Series appearance in 2020. So, no title quite yet, but they've been way closer than the Padres. Now let's look at the third, facilitating team. They weren't getting Wil Myers. They weren't giving up Wil Myers, but they are a part of this trade, the Washington Nationals. So Joe Ross made his MLB debut with the Nationals in 2015. and he was a back-of-the-rotation arm for parts of 6 seasons in DC. As a National, he put up a 26-28 record, an ERA plus of 99, so basically league average, and 4.9 WAR. More importantly, he was a member of the Nationals' first championship team, pitching 7 innings across 2 appearances in the World Series win over Houston. After the 2022 season, Joe Ross left as a free agent. Now, the most exciting part of this trade to me is the player to be named later. Now, the teams had agreed to who this player would be at the time of the trade, but he couldn't be officially traded until June of 2015. And the reason behind this was there was a rule at the time that players who were drafted couldn't be traded until a year after their draft. And since then, this rule's been changed. Now a player can be traded once that year's World Series ends, but at the time, even though both teams knew who this player was going to be, they couldn't name them. So this player was someone the Padres drafted in 2014, but couldn't trade yet. So who was it? Their first-round pick was Trey Turner. Yeah, it's that Trey Turner. Turner was called up in 2015, briefly, to play for the Nationals, and then made the team for good in 2016. And he was a star right away. Playing center field for Washington, Turner slashed .342, .370, .567 for a 142 OPS plus in 3.4 WAR in just 73 games. And he finished second in NL Rookie of the Year voting behind Dodgers shortstop Corey Seager, in large part because Seager played the full season. Turner shifted back to his natural position of shortstop for the 2017 season, and he stayed there the rest of his career. He's continued to demonstrate elite speed with back-to-back 40 steal seasons in 2017 and 2018, and contact, leading Major League Baseball in hits in 2020 and in 2021. He was a huge part of the 2019 championship team, batting leadoff nearly every day, and he finished top 10 in MVP voting in 2020 and in 2021. He made the All-Star game in 2021. Now, at that trade deadline, 2021, with a year and a half of team control remaining, and the Nationals moving towards a rebuild, Trey Turner was traded. The Nationals weren't going to re-sign him, and they wanted to get some value out of him. In his time as a National, Trey Turner put up 22.3 WAR. So the trade was Trey Turner and upcoming free agent ace Max Scherzer to the LA Dodgers for a package including some of the Dodgers' most promising prospects. Washington received 4 players, and we're going to knock out the quicker ones first. Gerardo Carrillo is a pitcher who's still with the Nationals organization, but he hasn't played above AA. He's only 25, so there is still some time, but at this point it's unlikely he's going to reach the major leagues. Donovan Casey, an outfielder, he's also still with the Nationals organization. He reached AAA in 2021, but in 2023 he didn't get higher than AA, and he's already 27, so it's also unlikely at this point that he's ever going to play in MLB. Now on to the big two. The Nationals received the Dodgers' top 2 prospects, and number 1 was catcher Keibert Ruiz. He was called up to the majors not long after the trade, and since then he's become Washington's starting catcher. Before the 2023 season, he signed an 8-year extension that's going to keep him in DC through at least 2030. In 271 games so far with the Nationals, he's slashed .259, .313, .389 for a 97 OPS plus, so slightly below league average at the plate, but he's a catcher. That's very good production for a catcher, especially one so young. He's posted 3.4 WAR as a Nat, plus he's only 25, and he's going to be in DC for a long time. Number 2, the starting pitcher Josiah Gray. He instantly joined the Nationals rotation, and he struggled his first year and a half, but in 2023 he broke out with 3.2 WAR and his first All-Star Game appearance. In total, he's put up 3.6 WAR as a National, and he's also only 25, and Washington has team control until 2027. So in total, the Nationals have gotten 34.2 WAR and counting. But if you don't want to count the last trade, Trey Turner's not the only piece going. Max Scherzer was extremely valuable going into that trade deadline, but just Ross and Turner were worth 27.2 WAR to the Nationals. And most importantly, this trade helped the franchise win their first ever World Series. So the Nationals are my winner of this trade, though that could certainly change down the line. If Tampa Bay manages to win a trade with Yandy Diaz an important piece, or Pete Fairbanks closing out Game 7 of the World Series, there could be a very strong argument that the Rays have won this trade. They got tremendous value out of trading a player in Wil Myers who just wasn't quite as productive in his new place as he probably should have been. If you enjoyed this trade tree breakdown, leave a like down below and subscribe to this channel. Let me know down in the comments who you think won this trade or any other trade trees you want to see me cover in this format. I have a couple others in the works already that I'm playing around with doing. But if there's something people really want to see, I'll break it down. Thanks for watching.